Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thanks for the invitation. And let me say before I get to my remarks that when it became knowledge that I'd been invited to speak to this issue, I was contacted by several of my fellow sheriffs across the state who wanted this.
Sheriff Anderson, I know this is kind of formality, but if you could go ahead.
I'm sorry, my name is Dee Anderson. I'm the sheriff of Tarrant County, Texas, which is in Fort Worth. My apologies. I was contacted by several of my fellow sheriffs who wanted this committee to know that there are many sheriffs across the state who are in full support of Governor Abbott's initiatives, who are fully supportive of anything that can be done to strengthen what exists out here. We all have heard all day today the problems and the issues that surround immigration, and certainly anything that can be done from a legislative level, state or federal level is welcome in the law enforcement world. We certainly want to make counties, law enforcement accountable under all applicable laws. We certainly don't want, as sheriffs, most of us don't want a situation where sheriffs who are elected start picking and choosing what rules to enforce. I bring a rather unique perspective, I think, compared to what some of the things you've heard today. As a large urban county sheriff, we actually have a situation in Tarrant County that works reasonably well. We have because of the size of our county, the size of our jail population, we have a relationship with ICE where there is a almost, if not full-time, ICE agent in our jail on a daily basis who scours our jail roster, who determines who in custody might or might not be in the country illegally. So as we move forward every morning, we have a new potential list of people who can become detainees if the ICE agent determines that an arrestee may be legally in the country. As you know, we've heard today, if ICE makes that determination with the new system they have in place, then a hold is placed on that prisoner, and that upon final completion of any of all business, my county and the state of Texas have, ICE will then, within 48 hours of notification, take custody of the individual and remove them from the country as they see fit. Now, what I haven't heard today, and I think that is worthy of some discussion, is there are, and I have talked to some of the smaller, less funded counties with overcrowded jails who tend to be forced into releasing people on an ICE detainer before the criminal justice system is served, simply because of overcrowding, because of tight finances in their county. Their county commissioner, their county judge is always pushing to get people out of jail. And so some of the sheriffs will allow a deportation to take place even before the person faces criminal charges. To me, that is literally a get out of jail free card for an individual charged with a minor, even if it's a minor crime, because they face no consequences for the crime which they are charged. This is a system in place that needs to be addressed again, if necessary, through the state level, and make sure that justice occurs on all cases, not just cases that someone chooses to prosecute.
Dee?
Yes, sir.
So those people bond out and then just don't show back up. Is that correct?
That is correct.
They're not just turned loose. They bond out and then they don't come back.
That is correct. They are allowed to post bond when they have the detainer on them, and then they disappear back normally across the border again.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
What's the statistics on that?
I don't have any
bond and disappear.
I don't have any statistical data. I know that people that are able to make bond, there's a high percentage that disappear and don't come back.
But that's mostly in the counties that are with overcrowded. Like in Tarrant County, that doesn't happen like it would in a smaller county with an overcrowded jail. Isn't that correct?
That is correct, because once we get the detainer, we do not allow that person to bond out. And
do you have any policies, or do our commissioners, if they pass a law that says that your deputies cannot ask the legal status of after they make a lawful stop for some other reason?
No, we don't have anything like that. And understand, as you understand, Mr. Guerin, most of our issue comes from the jail world, not from the street world. I mean, my world is an urban sheriff.
Yeah, your world is jail.
Is jails, and then my world on the street is
You're not aware of the city of Fort Worth having a policy like that either, though, are you?
I'm not aware of it, no.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, I'm not. And if any sheriff comes to you and tells you, and some have done this to me, that deporting a criminal is just as effective as having them serve jail time as punishment for a crime, they're either being untruthful or they absolutely don't understand the system. Because it's a cliche, but it is very true that many times someone who's deported literally will beat the bus back to the city that they are deported from. And so to think that justice is served simply by deporting someone is just absolutely not true. And this all points, of course, to the real issue that we've talked about all afternoon long. As long as the border is not secure, and as long as illegal entry into Texas is as easy as it is today, deportation is of little or no value in the desire to keep illegal immigrants turned criminals out of our cities and counties. Now, some legislation, as was suggested earlier by the chairman, where perhaps if someone returned and was caught again, that would increase the penalty, would certainly be welcomed by most of the sheriffs that I'm familiar with. Some of the sheriffs, unfortunately, see that futility as a reason, and some of them have kind of basically given up. And again, those cases are where justice is denied. I believe that through continued work, as we have shown in Tarrant County, if you work with the Immigration Customs officials, this is not a one-way street. You cannot sit back in your facility and expect the federal government to come do all the work for you. We have a very, very proactive group of people that work with the ICE people in our facility to be sure that everyone that should be scrutinized gets scrutinized. We offer them every bit of assistance that we possibly can to make sure that the people are detained who need to be detained. And so we don't want ever to believe that we can just sit back, that the 254 sheriffs can just sit back and say this is totally a federal problem. Because if you're elected to protect the people in your county, as we all are, in my opinion, we need to work with the immigration officials, not just sit back and say, this is totally a federal problem. Because we have ways, and we have proven this in Tarrant County, we have ways to make the system more effective. And you can do that. It doesn't take magic. It doesn't take a genius to pull it off. It can happen. So securing the border needs to fall to all of us who are legally responsible to do so, not just the federal government, but county sheriffs as well, police departments as well. And we know all of us have other demands and responsibilities, and we all have resource pools that take our resources away from where we try to be. In closing, I'd like to say that it is a challenge almost unlike any other that we face as county sheriffs in being in the state of Texas, and I don't care if you're a border sheriff or you're an urban county sheriff. Illegal immigration is something that we deal with on a constant basis, and anything that can be done at the legislative level to provide any kind of relief, whether it be budgetary, whether it be laws, whether it be policies, will be more than welcomed by myself and my colleagues. And I thank you for the opportunity to be here today.
Thank you, Sheriff Anderson. Any questions, comments? Yes, Sheriff Garrett.
Chairman Cook, I'd just like to make a statement based on Dee's testimony. If you recall, when we did the sanctuary cities bill in the past, Chairman Bonin brought in a constituent of his who'd been shot in the face by an illegal. That illegal had been deported 4 times, not incarcerated 4 times, but deported 4 times. And so, if they violate a law, they need to be incarcerated, not immediately deported, because immediate deportation, he probably beat the bus back, as Dee said, and he was in the country illegally and had not been incarcerated for his previous crimes, and so he was just deported. So incarceration is, I think, an important tool that needs to be used by the state of Texas. I know it costs money, but it needs to be used, because just sending them home isn't cut.
Well, no, you're right, and that's why I brought up what the Sheriff's Association said with respect to automatic 5-year federal prison sentence if you come back in and you've been deported. I think the word would get out pretty quick, and not many of them would go through that. But we do appreciate you being here, and we appreciate your testimony. At this time, we'll go to Don Lee,